folks, it's the Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. What an absolutely beautiful day today. It's been pretty hideous weather of late, but summer's back, at least for a little while, and really pleased to be out on another bike review. This time on something very unusual, might be a little bit controversial actually, because this is my latest long-term loan bike, and this is from a company called Sinnis, which is a UK-based company based down in Brighton, and they're one of these companies that has some sort of arrangement with a Chinese factory, and has the bikes built in China, and then badges them up and sells them over here at knockdown prices. Now they always seem to get a very bad rap, companies that do this sort of thing. I don't know why. I've ridden a few of these bikes now that have Chinese components, and in the main I've been quite impressed by them. But anyway, it's by way of sort of a challenge, I guess. Sinnis have very kindly said to me I can borrow this bike for as long as I like. So this is the Sinnis RSX125, so obviously a sort of a learner legal friendly bike, and I'm going to be having this for at least the next month or so, and I'm going to really get to know this motorcycle. This is the first time I've ridden it today. Obviously it's lovely and dry. The bike's brand new, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know this type of bike a bit more. It's a little bit more unusual obviously than the things that I normally ride. So stick around and stay tuned for the next few minutes, and I'll tell you my initial impressions review of the Sinnis RSX125. Now just before I get into the details of the bike specifically, just to give you a little bit of background about Sinnis and what they do. As I mentioned, the bikes are sourced from components made in China, and Sinnis themselves are based in the UK down in Brighton. They very kindly said that I can borrow this bike as long as I like for review purposes, so I'm going to have it for at least the next month, 6 weeks, really get to know it. And there's a few things about Sinnis that I guess stands them apart from some of the other bike manufacturers that do similar things with Chinese components, in that this machine has the 125 engine, which is widely regarded as the Suzuki unit, and in fact in this machine it is the Suzuki unit. Sinnis have their engines manufactured under license by Suzuki, and in fact they're the only people that are authorised by Suzuki to use that engine. So there is a degree of I don't know, safety there. Let's face it, nothing comes more reliable than a small Suzuki engine, does it? So theoretically at least the engine should be rock solid and super reliable. The other thing is, this is built in a factory that also builds BMW motorcycles. So again, there's no issue, or should be no issue, with quality control in that factory. So, and that's something quite unique to Sinnis. So I've ridden a few of these small Chinese-based bikes so far. In the main, I've been pretty impressed with them. But it's going to be interesting to get to know this bike really well over the next few weeks. So looking forward to putting out a few videos on this machine, and also just riding a small capacity machine again. I love small capacity bikes. I love the fact that you can ride the pants off them and you don't get into terrible trouble in terms of speed and so on. But they're just good fun, back to basics riding. Now of course I'm in the main used to riding much bigger bikes than this, and this bike, as I say, 125cc, puts out something like 11 horsepower, so very low power compared to what I'm used to when you think my Panigale is something like 155, my 899. So this is sort of 10 times less powerful, but nonetheless it doesn't mean to say it's not a usable engine. Here I am on a dual carriageway. Just thought I'd come on this road specifically to see how the bike copes on higher speed roads. Now obviously you're not going to take a 125 on the motorway, although I think in fact it might even be illegal to do so, and I certainly wouldn't advise it. But occasionally you're going to come across dual carriageways or roads like this that have a higher speed limit. Well, here I am, I'm in 5th gear. It's got a 5-speed gearbox, and the bike is holding 60, absolutely no problem at all. It doesn't feel like it's under stress. It doesn't sound like it's under stress. In fact, here we are downhill a bit now, 65. It should be noted as well, I have got a bit of a headwind. So I think that's doing pretty well really. But in the main, these bikes aren't going to be bought as long distance cruisers, are they? They're going to be bought as commuting bikes or for short hops. So as long as you can do sort of a 60, 65 when you need to, then you should be okay. And on that score, the Sinnis seems to be doing absolutely fine. Okay, so much for some of the higher speed work. What's the bike like from a practical point of view? Well, let's just go through the usual things that you need to know. First of all, seating position. Very, very comfortable. Although physically the bike looks very small when you stand next to it, when you sat on it, it doesn't feel like a small bike. It's pretty roomy. The handlebars are nice and wide, and it feels very, very comfortable. I'm nice and upright as you'd expect, being a naked bike. And the seat is nicely padded, very comfortable. In terms of my legs position, quite sporty actually. My knees are at an acute angle. I'm not terribly tucked up, but I am a little bit. And I'm sitting, dead above my feet. So yeah, it feels quite a sporty position from a leg point of view, but very, very comfortable. You could ride this for a long time, I think. I don't see any reason why not. The suspension is quite stiff. Obviously it's very basic suspension on here, but it's not teeth jarring, but it's not all wallowy, so actually the handling is surprisingly good. Of course, being a 125, it's a really lightweight bike. It's something like 140 kilograms. I'll go through the specs with you when we do a walk around in a minute as usual, but the bike just feels super light. It really is like jumping on a bicycle and riding, which I love. The little engine on here, as you may guess, is a single cylinder unit, as I say, authorised by Suzuki for Sinnis to use, and it's got a really nice note to it actually. It sounds great. It's not hideously loud or anything. I've got my earplugs in. I always wear earplugs just to protect their hearing, but even through the earplugs I can hear that the engine sounds great. Got a sort of a playful, characterful note, and they've done a really good job at suppressing any vibrations as well, because frankly I can't feel any. It's unusual. You'd expect on a single cylinder bike to feel some vibrations, but this really, I'm not noticing them. The other thing I'm really impressed with about this bike, given it is of course built to a budget, is the gearbox. It's just got a really solid feel. It's not throwing up forced neutrals or anything like that, and you definitely know when you've got the gear engaged. This is all fun. What's going on here? It pulls away perfectly sprightly as well from junctions and things like that. You can get away from traffic no problem. Of course, everything I'm saying has to be taken in context. You're not going to be winning any races on this bike. It is not a fast bike, but that's not what it's built or intended for. If you're new to motorcycling, learning your craft, or you've just done your CBT and you need a bike to get some experience before you take your test, then this is the sort of machine you might go for. And frankly, so far on this first brief ride, I'm very impressed. It's got a very neat and clear display here. It's an LCD black and white number, but it's got a rev counter on the top, speed of course. It's even got a gear position indicator. It's a 5-speed gearbox here, and of course the all important for me at least, fuel gauge. I'm anticipating this bike to be really frugal, but it's great to see that we've got a fuel gauge on here as well, so, and a clock, so it's got everything you need on there and no more, which I like. The other thing it's got, which is a nod I guess to Practicality, it's just under this little flap here. There's a little rubber flap on the bottom here. I hope you can see that in the shadow. And under there is a USB port, so you can charge your phone up as well while you're going. And just actually something that not many bikes have. Some of the big adventure bikes do, but certainly not bikes this sort of size, so nice little touch that. The camera won't show it, but I'm going up this hill into Amersham, which is quite a steep one actually, but absolutely no issue at all. It'd be really interesting to ride this in a driving wind and see if it gets blown about much, but so far I'm not having any issues with lack of performance on the bike. Man, I love light bikes. It literally is like riding a bicycle. You can just flick it around the corners. It's great fun. And if you're in town where, you know, high speeds are never going to be the norm, really, why do you need more than this? What's he doing? Oh, pulling out in front of me. That's the norm. So again, just while we're going through the practical aspects, the mirrors on here work an absolute treat. No vibration. They look very similar actually to the mirrors on the BMW. They're slightly shorter, but they work well. I've just noticed actually, I hate doing reviews where I can't find anything bad about a bike, so I'm going to actively find as many things as I can over the next few weeks about this bike that I don't like. One thing I haven't seen on here is any sort of temperature gauge. I just like to have one of those so I can see what the bike's doing, and this one doesn't have one of those, so that's a bit of a shame. And another thing that I've noticed I'm not too keen on is the indicator switch, which is a bit cheap and nasty. You have to be really positive with it to get it turned on and off. I noticed just now that I thought I cancelled it and hadn't, and the indicator was flashing for a while, so you've just got to make sure you really press that hard. And also with the sun behind you, some of these little gauges here, the idiot lights, they're not that bright. So again, that's just another little thing. Again, yeah, you know, I'm fully expecting there to be loads of corners cut here. See, I'm now indicating right, and I can barely see that indicator light is flashing. It is, I can see that it is. Let's go close. See if I go like that in the shadow, you can see it is. But in the sunlight like that, you can barely see it. Minor point, but once you're aware of it, you can work around it. But certainly not as good as other bikes that I've ridden. Right, what I need to do, as is tradition, find myself a little spot to pull in and show you what the bike looks like and just talk you through the specs. What about over here? A little bit of off-road. Alrighty, let's show you around the machine. Now it's one of those machines that even if you've got her in neutral, if you put the stand down, the engine stops. So not quite sure. There you go. I mean, it's obviously a safety feature, but you know, other bikes don't do that. Just a little quirk that I've noticed. Alrighty, let's pop her down. Here she is then. This is it, the Sinnis RSX125. I think they've done a lovely job on the way it looks, actually. It certainly doesn't look like a cheap and nasty bike in any way. Let me get the other camera out and I'll do the walk around for you. Right, here we go then. There she is. Hopefully you've got a reasonable view of that. And just on the looks front, I mean, to me it looks sort of a little bit like a Suzuki, actually. The front has got that sort of transformerish look about it that so many bikes have these days. Sort of splits opinion, those sort of waspy type looks, but I quite like them. And in terms of general fit and finish on the bike, I think it's a really nice job. I mean, if you look at the tank, the paintwork on here looks good. The plastics look reasonable quality. I love what they've done with the red subframe, sort of aping a bit of, channeling a bit of Ducati there. The tail tidy is pretty horrible, that would need to be changed, but you know, what bike doesn't have a dodgy tail tidy? So overall I think she looks pretty good. So there we are. Anyway, okay, so in terms of the spec then, the engine, as I say, it's that single overhead cam 124cc air-cooled engine. Here she is, a little tiny unit, and it's as I mentioned, it's a Suzuki engine, actually, licensed to Sinnis. The only people that are officially authorised to do that, apparently. Don't exactly know what that means, but it sounds good. Puts out 11 horsepower, 5-speed gearbox. That fuel tank, capacity-wise, holds 13.5 litres, and I imagine this is going to be a super frugal bike. I'll find out over the next few weeks, but I don't imagine I'm going to be putting a lot of fuel in. Dry weight is 140 kilograms, so very, very lightweight bike indeed. The seat, which is very comfortable, here we go, massive seat actually, plenty of room for a pillion if you want to stick your girlfriend on the back. Seat height 780 millimetres, so nice and low, and adds to its unintimidating nature. Front suspension, try not to get killed being run over by that car. Let's have a look at the front suspension. Here we go, upside down forks, look at that, incredible. And it's got ABS on the front as well, and a single disc. The brakes seem to work pretty well, but it is only single channel ABS, only on the front, as I found out just now when I braked hard with the back wheel and locked it up. So quite fun, but you've got to be aware that you can do that. The rear suspension, according to the website, is adjustable, single monoshock. I can't see personally where it's adjustable. If I just bring the camera down here, you can see it lives under a cover under there, so you can't really see where it's adjustable, but presumably for preload it can be done. Electronics, well, none, just the ABS on the front, as I say. And then the key thing about this is the price. On the road, would you believe, $2,150 plus a £55 registration fee, so $2,200 on the road pretty much. And if you buy one of these, tax is going to cost you £17 a year in the UK. 17 quid, I mean, what an absolute bargain. So not only is it going to be frugal on fuel, but it's just cheap generally. I mean, that is less than a season ticket. That's about half the price of say the KTM 390 Duke, for example. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It comes with a 24-month warranty as well, which says quite a lot about Sinnis's faith in the product, I suppose. Just show you the switchgear quickly while I've got this camera. Here, very simple. Nice and positive, these switches, but the indicator feels a little bit flimsy and takes a bit of, you know, making sure you've cancelled it, as I mentioned. The display works really well from what I can tell. And then on this side again, just the usual stuff. Nothing complicated about this bike, very, very simple indeed to operate. Alright, enough chat. I shall jump back on again and ride some more. Okay, let's get this show on the road again. Sounds really quite purposeful. I like it. It's turned into a beautiful day for riding bikes. Once again, I've put the indicator on, but I can hardly tell from the indicator down here that it's on. Oh, there you go, in the shade you can. So yeah, from a looks point of view, I hope you would agree, she looks pretty sharp actually. Certainly as good as any other 125 out there on the market, and wow, that price, 2,200 quid for a brand new motorcycle. Now I don't know how the things will last through the depths of a British winter, but you know, even if it only lasted a couple of winters, it's still going to be cheaper than buying your annual season ticket into London if you're a train commuter, for example. But with a 24-month warranty, I guess you're even protected against it only lasting for 2 years. So I must just thank the guys in advance down at Sinnis in Brighton for letting me borrow the bike. Check out their website. I was surprised actually the number of models that they've got. I'm hoping, I haven't spoken to them about this, but I'm hoping after I finish with this bike I might be able to get one of the other bikes in the range, because they've got retros and all sorts, and it'll be interesting to ride them, compare them against things like the Mutt Mongrel that I rode recently, for example, which is a similar sort of machine. Handling on this is much better than you would anticipate it being. I guess again just down to its lightweight, and the thin tyres means it corners very, very easily. I don't want to sound gushing about it, because clearly it's not a sophisticated or exotic machine, but I had very, very low expectations of what this bike would be like, but it really does ride absolutely fine, and there's very little so far not to like about it. I've mentioned the dodgy indicator that you can't see very well, and the fact you have to press the indicator button quite hard to cancel it, but that is it. They're the only things I can find, or maybe the lack of a temperature gauge, but that's no biggie. I'd far rather have the fuel gauge, which it's got. So yeah, overall very favourable first ride. Looking forward to getting to know her a bit more. I will do the usual thing. I'm going to ride as many miles as I can on it. I'm going to do some commuting. Hopefully I'll ride it in some rain. I'm sure there'll be some not too long away, and just treat the bike as my own for a good month or so, and then at the end of that period I'll do a sort of living with review and give you all the lessons that I've learnt about the Sinnis RSX125. But that's it for now. Until next time, this has been the Mr. and Fly. Cheerio.